All right. My name is Kendra Bird. I am a marriage and family studies major, and I was able to complete my internship this semester, over the spring semester, and I was actually in Malad, Idaho. So I interned for a place called Oneida Family Services. This is in Malad, Idaho. I don't know if very many of you know where Malad is, but if you've either driven from Utah to Rexburg or vice versa, you've probably driven by it and blinked and you passed it. It's extremely small. The population is not very large, but it is a cute little community that I was able to serve in. So let me tell you a little bit about Oneida Family Services and how I found this internship and how I decided to arrange it. So first of all, I had to call a couple different places. I knew that I was going to be in Malad because my husband is a farmer, and I knew that I was going to live here, and so this was really my only option unless I wanted to drive a couple hours either north or south. So I really wanted to find something that was local. So in Malad, there are actually only 3 places that were really going to work out for me. One of them was the women's shelter, and there is a women's shelter here. There was also A to Z counseling, and that just wasn't going to work for me. I did end up calling them, but they had never had an intern before and were kind of skeptical about having an intern, because they had never had one and they just kind of didn't know what to do. Not that the process was hard, but just seemed like that they were a little busy. So I was really banking on Oneida Family Services being open and available for me to do my internship. And luckily they were, which was great. So I called my supervisor up. His name was Russ Volmer, and he was able to set up an interview with me. So I came down close to, it was about in March of 2015. So the winter semester wasn't even over yet, but I knew that I needed to have my internship in place so that I could start right when the semester ended. So I met with him and had an interview, and we were able to discuss possible opportunities that would make sure that I was going to receive a good experience, an experience that I really wanted and that would help me gain knowledge both in marriage and family studies and also personally, so that I could become a better family advocate. So I called them up, we had an interview, I visited with him, made sure that the atmosphere that I was going to work in was something that I felt comfortable in, and made sure that he knew what he was getting himself into. So some of the responsibilities that I had at this internship were, my number one was probably working side by side with a CBR counselor, which means community-based rehabilitation. And some of the things that we did, we worked a lot with children, which is absolutely my favorite thing to do. I love working with younger kids, and we were able to work on their social skills, anger management skills, and making friends, kind of helping them with sibling relationships as well. We would not only meet with siblings one-on-one, but then we would bring them all together and make sure that we could create a good relationship within them as well. Another thing that I was responsible for was filing paperwork. I helped a lot with client information, making sure that their charts were all filled out, making sure everything that was filed correctly. I was also able to do some insurance side of things, which was really interesting because I never thought I'd be involved in the money side, but I was actually able to help with billing and kind of figure out how that worked, how they billed Medicaid and Medicare, and how the process worked between both the money side and also the counseling side of things as well, which was great. Now, I know that we all know the benefits of counseling because of the major that we're studying and the classes that we've taken. But I really, truly was able to help people better relationships, not only between siblings, but I also worked with a mother and her children. I worked with a child and her stepfather, lots of different relationships. And we always think maybe between families, but we also worked with children and teachers, and helping them along in school, making sure that they were getting good grades and that they were being successful in life. Another thing, I was really able to help people with anxiety and stress relief. A lot of people come into counseling because they're stressed and they're having a hard time in their life. And I was able to share some of the knowledge that I have because of classes that I've taken about stress relief and anxiety and kind of the things that they are possibly going through and how to handle that better. So, how did I benefit the site that I served at? So, I obviously feel like I was benefited more than I gave, but I think that's typical. I feel like I learned a lot more than I could have ever given them. But some of the ways that I benefited them, I felt like I was really a shoulder to lean on, not only for the clients, but also for the counselors. I was kind of a new face within the facility. So I was able to give children a new experience because I knew some information that maybe the counselors didn't. I had learned some new things at BYU that I was able to share with them that maybe they hadn't ever heard before, some new ideas. I also, like I said, I gave the children a new experience. And I think one of the biggest things I did was when I sat in on counseling sessions, I was someone that they could trust, but I was a new face. I wasn't their counselor that was sitting in with them every time and helping them. But I was able to sit in a couple times and they were able to share their story with me and kind of what they were going through. And they knew that not only they could trust their counselor, but they could also tell me their story and that I would love them just the same. And that I knew that they were good people and that it wasn't their fault and I was going to help them work through it. Like I mentioned, I was able to bring some new ideas, some new models that I had brought up with my supervisor, such as the RAM model. So that was the relationship attachment model, which I really like because it talks about, it starts kind of from left to right, and I'm sure most of us know this, but it starts with know, trust, rely, commit, and touch. So you have to know somebody very well before you can trust them completely. Then we need to trust before we rely. We rely before we can commit. And before we touch, we need to make sure we're committed to make sure that we can create that strong bond within a family. And I was able to bring some new models and new theories to them that maybe they hadn't ever heard before. So how did I benefit personally from this experience? Obviously, I think I benefited a lot more than I ever gave them, but I've had a pretty good experience learning new things. And the way that I feel like I benefited from was my confidence level, not only in myself, but as a family life advocate has gone up. And also as a daughter of God, I feel like before, I felt confident, but I was a little bit shaky about things. I was always so worried that maybe I didn't know enough. Maybe I hadn't learned everything. Maybe I hadn't studied as hard as I should have to know exactly what I needed to tell people. And the best thing that I learned was, you may not always have the right answers, and you may not know exactly what you need to tell them at that time. But it's okay to say, hey, you know what? I don't know that exactly, but I would love to help you figure that out. And I want to do some research and I'm going to come back with an answer for you. Something else that I've learned, I have had a really hard time not with my experience at BYU Idaho, but learning in a gospel related way and not knowing how to share that with people who don't believe in God. I don't know why that's been such a roadblock for me, but as a member of the church, I believe in God, I believe in Jesus Christ and in the Holy Ghost. And sometimes when you come in contact with people of the world, they don't necessarily believe that. They don't believe that there's a God and they don't have religion in their life, which is okay. But I was having a hard time getting the point across to them that, there is somebody out there that loves them, and just pray, and you want to tell them all these things, but you necessarily can't. So I have had a great experience learning from this internship on how to relate to people when they don't believe in God, and that's okay. The best thing and the strongest testimony I have now is that because of eternal truths and because of similar values, we are all daughters and sons of God. And so we can relate in that way. the people that we taught, I knew that this mother that we were meeting with was a daughter of God, and she had the same values as me, even though she didn't believe in a God. She believed that, or she loved her children. She loved family. She wanted what's best for her children, so she was willing to do anything she could to help them. And that's what I believe in as well. The last major thing that I feel like I benefited from this experience was a love, maybe not a bigger heart physically, but I feel like I've grown with love for all kinds of different people. You get so many different, not only races, but personalities, and so many different kinds of people that may be harder to work with, but I just felt so much love for them, even though I did not know them for, very long amount of time. I just knew that they were special to me and that I was going to do anything that I could to help them in their life. So describe one important connection between the coursework, so the things that I studied at BYU Idaho, and what I experienced during my internship. So I was able to take the practicum course last semester, which was so great because I chose the pathway. So you could choose two different things, either to work one-on-one with someone who is having a hard time with a specific problem, or you could teach a course or a couple-week class, like a 4-week class on whatever subject you wanted. Well, I decided to kind of base our first workshop on an article called 3 Keys to a Better Relationship. Goddard and Marshall wrote this, and we really focused on these 3 keys throughout our workshop, making sure that people understood what it was that made a strong relationship. And I definitely connect these to the experience I had at my internship. Every time I went into intern, I really wanted to make sure that number one, the first key is humility, that I was considering the weakness in my position, that I'm not always right and that I don't always have the answers, but I'm willing to do anything that I can to help. I just wanted them to know that I was being as humble as possible, and I didn't think that I was better than them or that I was higher than them, that I was on the same level, and I truly wanted to understand. Key number 2 is compassion. And the main point to this key is that we're just listening and understanding the thoughts and feelings of others. And obviously that's so important within counseling. Making sure that they know that we are listening and trying our best to understand, even though we don't always know how it feels to go through what they're going through, but that we're being compassionate of others and their stories. Key number 3 is positivity. Positivity is remembering the good in relationships and focusing on good qualities, making sure that we're giving people the benefit of the doubt. People have hard lives, and that's understandable. But to remember that the relationship that they have is more important than the problem to be solved is extremely important. And making sure that we're just being so positive, and that, even though everything's not going right now, that there is a future ahead, and that we can change that as long as we're willing to do what we need to work on our relationships and working on loving the people in our lives. I have learned so much in this internship, and I'm so glad that I was able to relate it to coursework, and I'm so just thrilled that I am not only a member of the church, but that I'm a student at BYU Idaho, and that I've had such great teachers in order to teach me the things that I know today, so that I was able to have a good experience at my internship. So the last question is, would I recommend this site or experience to other students? The reason that I have a thumbs up and a thumbs down is because I had a good experience, and at first I really felt like I was going to have, get all the practical experience that I wanted. When I first met with the supervisor, I felt like he really understood what I wanted. and what I needed in this experience and what I wanted to do. I had so many ideas and so many plans at the beginning. He told me I could direct staff meetings and that I would be able to put on a parenting course. He had me start working on a benefit concert for a little boy who has a muscle disease in Malad. And I was so excited to do all these things. But he was a little bit too laid back, and he really wasn't willing to help me at all. I was doing a lot on my own, which was fine because I am very independent, and I was excited to kind of figure things out by myself. But these things were not able to go through because he was just so, I didn't really feel like he cared if I was there, if I wasn't there. Just kind of had me there, wanted just to say, okay, you've been here this many hours, let me sign it off. And I didn't really feel like he was invested in me. So in that way, that's why I give it a thumbs down, because I mean, I don't know how many of you will end up in Malad, Idaho anyways, but I honestly would not recommend this internship to any other student, because even though I made it a good experience, I tried so hard to make it a good experience for myself, I was really let down, and I wish I could have done more. I wish I could have, brought my ideas out more. So yeah, honestly, I wouldn't recommend this to anybody. So I mean, that's too bad, but that's okay as well, because I was able to learn a lot still. But yes, so I've enjoyed this experience on my internship. So thank you.